Welcome to your free English lesson. This series will focus on the verb to have. There are three intended learning outcomes for this lesson. 1. We are learning to conjugate and use the verb to have as an auxiliary verb. 2. We are learning about the verb to have as an auxiliary verb that helps to form the past perfect tense in an action verb. 3. We are learning to apply the auxiliary verb to have when showing how one past action happened before another past action. It is important to write when you are asked to. It helps you to learn. You can use a whiteboard, but ideally a notebook would be best. That way, you can keep a record of your learning. As an action verb, or acting as a main verb, the verb to have tells us what someone or something owns or possesses. In the simple past tense, we can conjugate the verb to have like this. Follow as I read. I had. You had. This is singular, one person. He had. She had. It had. We had. You had. This is plural, more than one person. They had. The verb to have is usually transitive, so it takes a direct object to complete its meaning. Notice that the verb to have is irregular, so when we conjugate it, it changes from the infinitive form. Consider these sentences. I ate dinner. I ate dinner before I watched TV. Which action happened first? How do we show the order of the actions? Sometimes we need a tense to show that one past action happened before another past action. Look at this timeline. In the past, I ate dinner. Then I watched TV. I had eaten dinner before I watched TV. The auxiliary verb to have functions differently. As an auxiliary verb, to have does not mean to own. It helps the main verb to show that one past action happened before another past action. The main verb following the auxiliary verb to have maintains the past participle verb form. The past participle is not the same as the past simple in many verbs. Here are some regular and irregular past participle verbs. Follow as I read. These verbs are regular past participle. Loved, played, watched, cleaned, studied, planned, stopped, liked, opened, helped. These are irregular past participle verbs. Been, broken, done, seen, spoken, taken, known, gone, eaten, drunk. Past participle verbs are used for perfect tense, such as she had spoken to them, or the passive voice in sentences such as the cleaning was done yesterday. This diagram shows what the past perfect tense looks like. One event happened before another. Both of these events happened in the past, not now, which is the present, and not the future, which is later. Before. One event happened before another in the past. Listen to these sentences. What is missing? He had lost his wallet. She had broken her glasses. Had you forgotten your umbrella? Had they missed the train? You might notice that the second action is missing in these sentences. That's because the second action is implied. Remember, the past perfect means something happened first in the past. What could the second past action be? There are different possibilities that can be implied. It depends on the context of the conversation. Listen to the implied second action. He had lost his wallet. What might happen next? He couldn't pay for the meal. She had broken her glasses. What might happen next? She couldn't read the article. Had you forgotten your umbrella? What might happen next? It started raining. Had they missed the train? What might happen next? They arrived late. Remember, the implied second action also happened in the past. We use the past perfect to show that one past action happened before another past action. For example, the movie had started before I arrived. This timeline shows that in the past, the movie started first, then I arrived. We use the past perfect to explain, in the past, the reason for a situation. For example, she was tired because she had worked all day. This timeline shows how, in the past, she worked all day. The cause. Then she was tired. The result. Something happened earlier, then it caused a problem later. We use the past perfect to show that the speaker expected something to happen, but it did not happen. For example, I had hoped to see her, but she didn't come. This timeline shows how, in the past, the speaker hoped to see someone. Then, it didn't happen. We use the past perfect to talk about an experience before a specific time. For example, we had never flown before 2015. This timeline shows that, in the past, they had never flown until 2015, a specific time in the past. This lesson will look at the past perfect tense. The verb to have helps to form perfect tenses. It does not carry the main meaning of a sentence. It works together with the main verb to show the past of the past. The structure of a statement follows this form: subject, plus the verb to have conjugated in the past perfect tense, plus the past participle verb. The punctuation at the end of a sentence is a full stop for a statement and an exclamation mark for an exclamation. The structure of a question follows this form. The verb to have, conjugated in the past perfect tense, plus the subject, plus the past participle verb. The punctuation at the end of a question is a question mark. We will briefly learn some helpful time words as an extender. These words show sequence or completion before another past action. Before shows which action happened first. In a question, had plus subject plus past participle plus before plus event. For example, had they tried before then? In a statement, subject plus had plus past participle plus before plus event. For example, I had left before he arrived. After introduces the earlier action. In a question, had plus subject plus past participle plus after plus event. For example, had you eaten after the show? In a statement, after goes at the beginning. After plus subject plus had plus past participle plus event. For example, after we had flown, we rested. Notice the comma after the past participle, showing a short pause between the expression of events. When introduces the later past simple action. In a question, when plus event plus had plus subject plus past participle. For example, when you cooked, had they helped? In a statement, when can be in two places. At the beginning of a statement, using when, a comma is required to show a short pause between expression of events. When plus event plus subject plus had plus past participle. For example, when it broke, we had understood. Subject plus had plus past participle plus when plus event. We had bowed when they clapped. By the time signals completion before a past point. In a question, by the time can be used in two places. By the time plus event plus had plus subject plus past participle. For example, by the time it started, had she called? Had plus subject plus past participle plus by the time plus event. For example, had he paid by the time you rang? In a statement, by the time plus event plus subject plus had plus past participle. For example, by the time she was 10, she had learned. By the time is a very useful phrase. It works well with past perfect because it shows a clear end point in the timeline. Notice the comma, showing a pause between expression of events. Choose the correct past participle to complete each sentence. 1. I had forget my keys at home. Or, I had forgotten my keys at home. 2. She had wrote 3 emails before the meeting. Or, she had written 3 emails before the meeting. 3. Had they eat lunch before the lesson started? Or, had they eaten lunch before the lesson started? 4. Had you ever seen the snow before that day? Or, had you ever see the snow before that day? 5. They had built a new house by then. Or, they had built a new house by then. 6. Had she began her new job last week? Or, had she begun her new job last week? 7. They had break the window while playing. Or, they had broken the window while playing. 8. They had made all the arrangements. Or, they had make all the arrangements. 9. Had you drive a car before last year? Or, had you driven a car before last year? 10. Had she met them by then? Or, had she meet them by then? Pause the video. The next slide contains the answers. Check your answers. 1. I had forgotten my keys at home. 2. She had written 3 emails before the meeting. 3. Had they eaten lunch before the lesson started? 4. Had you ever seen the snow before that day? 5. They had built a new house by then. 6. Had she begun her new job last week? 7. They had broken the window while playing. 8. They had made all the arrangements. 9. Had you driven a car before last year? 10. Had she met them by then? Here is an extender for anybody who would like a challenge. Fill in the correct time word using the clues. Before indicates the sequence of the previous event. After indicates the sequence of a later event. When shows closer timing, often simultaneous. And by the time emphasizes completion before a point. 1. She had locked the door, leaving the house. Sequence is the clue. 2. We had packed our bags. The taxi came. Completion is the clue. 3. He had watered the plants. Going on vacation. Sequence is the clue. 4. Had they completed the project? The boss asked for it. Closer timing is the clue. 5. Had he booked the tickets? They did. Sequence is the clue. 6. The children had gone to bed. Their parents came home. Completion is the clue. The clues are there to help understand nuance. Nuance in this activity means small differences in meaning. In these exercises, more than one time word would make sense. What needs to be considered is the emphasis on sequence, before and after, simultaneity, when, or completion, by the time. Check your answers. 1. She had locked the door before leaving the house. 2. We had packed our bags by the time the taxi came. 3. He had watered the plants before going on vacation, or he had watered the plants after going on vacation. Before and after are both acceptable in this sentence. 4. Had they completed the project when the boss asked for it? 5. Had he booked the tickets before they did? Or had he booked the tickets after they did? Before and after are both acceptable in this sentence. 6. The children had gone to bed by the time their parents came home. Thank you for joining into the lesson today. I hope you have confidently learned about conjugating and using the verb to have in the past perfect tense and the verb to have as an auxiliary verb that helps to emphasize how, in the past, two events are sequenced. Please like and subscribe for more lessons. There is a lot to learn, so don't give up. Keep believing in yourself and you will learn. See you next time. Bye.